Hello. It is now 6:36, and I would like to call the regular Public Art Commission meeting of April 24th, 2023 to order. Before I proceed, I'd like to take a moment to go over our meeting protocols for today. The South Pasadena Public Art Commission meeting for April 24th, 2023 will be conducted in person to maximize public safety while still maintaining transparency and public access. Members of the public can observe the meeting via Zoom. Will staff please take roll call?
Commissioner Wong, absent. Commissioner Burke, excused. Commissioner Piazza,
Here.
Vice Chair Andres,
Here.
Chair Kuramitsu, I'm sorry.
Here.
You have quorum.
Next, we move on to the approval of the agenda. Commissioners, do you have any requests for additions or revisions to the agenda? So please raise your hand.
No, looks good to me.
Great. All right, seeing no request, I would like a vote of the commission to proceed with approval of the agenda as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, and now we move on to public comments. Next is public comment for general items that are not on the agenda. Has staff received any public comment in person or via Zoom?
We do not have any public comments in person or via Zoom. And just in case we do have guests on Zoom, please click the hand icon to make a public comment. And we do not have any public comments via Zoom.
Okay, thank you very much. For the next item, I think we do not have the city manager. Updates?
This is Allison Becker from the Community Development Department. The Deputy City Manager has been called away to another engagement, so we're going to postpone her general update to the next commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see. And I think, do we have any action on the minutes from the special meeting of February 27th? Okay. Right. So they are in our packet. Okay, can I call for a vote to approve? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Oh, these are for the minutes.
Yeah, the minutes
Yes.
from the special meeting in February 20th.
Yes, I vote to approve the minutes.
Do we have to?
I vote to approve the minutes.
So they are approved. Fantastic. Excellent. So glad we're all in
Agreement.
such concord. Very nice. Okay. And now let us move on to the discussion of our 2023 annual commission report. So which is also in our packets. Okay.
This is Allison Becker again from the Community Development Department. So as you may recall, every year, all of the commissions for the city of South Pasadena prepare work programs to ensure that the work of the commission has direction and that we're advancing our core missions. The Public Art Commission did prepare a work plan last year. So our first slide, if you'd advance one, is to, oh, look at that tiny font. Hopefully you can see it better on your screens. There were a number of a number of work program items that in fact were all addressed. The format of the work plan last year was aligning Art Commission tasks with the city's strategic plan, which is why you may see an unusual kind of alliance with our activities and the city's work program. But for example, the first item is looking at integrating the requirements for public art with our city's electronic permitting system. That's going to help us keep not only keep track of our pipeline, but also ensure timely assessment of potential fees and better communication with applicants. So we were able to pull together a work flow to be integrated into our electronic permitting system. The second bullet point was talking about building a guide for how to do business in the city. Sure exactly how we construed this as oh, I must have missed text underneath. There must have been text underneath about art donations and our policy handbook. So both of those we discussed at our last meeting, and I believe we're going to have an update on the handbook this evening. And then finally, again, furthermore, in this effort to streamline and better explain the process for public art in the city, the Public Art Commission is actively working to draft our handbook. So hopefully we'll have that done by the end of June, and then we can transmit that to City Council, and that will count as one of our accomplishments for 2022-23. Next slide, please. And so these are the proposed items that I would suggest we include in the 23-24 work program. There are 4 this year instead of 3, but because one is related to our program handbook, it seemed like we want to make sure that it's on there in the event we're not quite finished. The other 3 items are looking to produce a roster of local artists. We have a need to acquaint developers who are considering producing public art on site, to have a list of folks that they can reach out to. That seemed like an appropriate activity for the commission this year. We are looking to build a catalog of our existing public art in the city of South Pasadena. That's actually a long-standing ambition that actually is part of our public art ordinance and commission duties. And we also, as part of our commission duties, are responsible for identifying potential public sites for public art to be submitted to the City Council for consideration. So it seemed like this was a good year to go through that process of building a master list. So that's those are the suggested action items for this year. Obviously, if the commission would like to suggest others, we can work with that. But that concludes my summary of the presentation.
Thank you. Are we able to discuss and approve this with the? I just
Well, I'd like to say, I think this is an excellent work plan. I think it's a great inventory, a time to take inventory of what we have here in South Pasadena. It's a very rich place for the arts. We have many artists that live in South Pasadena and also in the surrounding cities of area around South Pasadena. I think it's an excellent idea. It's something that we've seen as we've come through as artists or as developers come. Obviously, aren't for most part art people. That this would be a great resource for them, something that they don't have to use, but would be available to them as a starting point in their progress. So I think I think that will be particularly helpful. And of course, I'm so glad that we're, continuing to focus on our arts policy, which is a really important part of what we're doing on the commission currently.
Yeah, and I like that all of these activities are sort of laying the ground and sort of assessments are laying the groundwork for a lot of work that for the work that we will be doing quite a bit of in the future.
It's
So this
exciting.
is all, yeah, exactly. So this, I'm heartily behind this.
Yeah, I think it's a really wonderful schedule. I'm just wondering if on the roster of local artists, we might want to consider also looking into historical artists to draw inspiration on and, people who have been here and contributed in the past, because there's a rich history here. So I think that might be nice to put that in if we have the time and the resources to explore that as well.
Would you please clarify for me, just so that I understand the suggestion? Are you suggesting so that potential patrons, right? So developers who might be commissioning artists to create art can reference art that has been done in the past in South Pasadena?
Yes, by artists local to South Pasadena who, they might be deceased a long time ago, but they might have had some impact. So they could use them for inspiration. And I think it might be nice to recognize the past as well as the future.
Yes, that I wonder if would that be a part of the catalog of public art?
Well, if the artists had some public art here, yes, but there might be artists who lived here that never had public art here,
I see.
but they have, were famous in their own right and time. So I think it might be nice to explore those people as well. Again, if we have the resources.
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm wondering, does it, yeah, I don't know if that would be I think I mean, my understanding of this list is that it's a list for potential developers to, that have to fulfill the requirement to present public art as part of their, building, that they, need to, find an artist to create a work of art. So what are you thinking?
Well, are they required to find an artist from South Pasadena?
Not necessarily, no.
I guess what I was thinking was that these people, these historical people, might just be a source of inspiration. Say that they had chosen an artist from outside of South Pasadena, just some recognition. So maybe some of our public art would have some recognition of people who have come before that have.
I think maybe it's making sure that we would provide enough kind of contextual information and his research to make that available to artists that are living and working in this or that are working towards public art in the city, right? So it's making information available to the artists who are creating.
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. I love the idea. I'm an art historian myself, so this is my bailiwick. And I would love to maybe work on a document that would, kind of lay our land, yeah, and Chris as well. We're both, lay the land or like give an overview of the importance of art in South Pasadena. I mean, that would be a great, potentially another area that our committee could explore, which I think would be slightly different maybe than it disappeared.
List.
Yeah, like a
directory.
roster of artists or, but I think that would be really, it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
as we're thinking about building out our presence, our webpage, there's so many ways that you could use that sort of information, as well as just, reference documents for interested parties. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Shall we include it as a task on the work plan, or do we want to put it on the work plan?
Yeah, I think that actually sounds like it would make sense.
Yeah,
And it
that could
actually,
be a little,
it
that could be a
flows
little
with-
ad hoc project.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly.
Okay, perfect. Okay, would you volunteer for that, Commissioner Piazza?
Okay.
Okay, good. There we go. We have a new project and a new sponsor.
Excellent.
Okay, any other questions or?
Any other questions, comments?
No.
Okay, so shall we vote to approve the work plan with the addendum? Yeah. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it is approved. We have a plan moving forward.
Yeah, and we'll be busy.
Woo. Thank you very much. Okay, great. So now we can move on to comments from the city council liaison.
Hi, good evening. I don't have anything in particular. We do have a meeting on Wednesday to discuss the state of the streets. And we have a very comprehensive presentation by the Public Works Department and the consultant on how we can put together a program to restore, repave, maintain our street system here in the city. It's a pretty ambitious study and it's a pretty ambitious project. We're looking forward to it. We know that we've got a lot of work to do. There's been, time lost because of COVID and a number of other reasons. So we really want to hit the ground running with at least the beginning of a study that's systematic, that has the right elements to get consistent, repeated design packages out the door so we can have an automated system to get our streets repaired. Begins with a pretty broad analysis. So that's going to be a huge lift for the council and the Public Works Department. There's a lot of other things going on as well. We have the housing element that's working its way through the Housing Community Development Review Panel. We have the continuing efforts to work on the electrification project and the conversion of the police fleet to all electric. So there's milestones that are happening almost every month with that. We have the city's 135th birthday celebration that's going to be celebrated at the Eclectic this Saturday, which I think will be a phenomenal event. We're hoping to have great turnout. Mission Street will be closed. So that'll be a nice celebration. Lots of events coming up. We have also big events. We have a state of housing, city council study session coming up. We have strategic planning that we're going to be doing over the summer. And then on into the fall, we're hoping to have a Vision 2050, South Pasadena Vision 2050 outreach to the community involving planning discussions and open dialogue with the community members. During the day, it won't be evening events, but it might probably be a mix of day and evening events. So if any of you remember the charrettes that we had back in 2016 and 17, we're trying to replicate that to allow that kind of involvement. So I'm sure I've left off lots and lots of things as important, but that's about all I have time for right now.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Well, we heard a lot about The lawn mowers and the electric lawn blowers. What's happening there?
So we have leaf blowers. So the gas powered leaf blowers are banned in South Pasadena,
Okay.
and there's a transition program, there's education, there's outreach to make sure gardeners can do that. Ultimately, it's the homeowner who's responsible to make sure that no gas powered leaf blower is used on their property.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There's a big push to convert gas powered mowers to the electric. And Councilmember Cacciati is really good at notifying the residents, and our community development department is as well. There are programs to help subsidize the cost of swapping. So the goal is to, get some of these dirty engines retired and make sure we're using clean electric equipment. I think we were one of the first in the nation to go all electric for our city facilities in terms of land care. And now we want to make sure that is encouraged for the private homeowners as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for the update.
Well, thank you. We can now move on to comments from the commissioners. Are there any comments from our ad hoc committee?
Oh, ad hoc. So is this me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yes, there is. We have some documents. So I am part of the Public Art Policy Ad Hoc Committee, and we are in the process of creating a document for the city of South Pasadena to explain and kind of go through the public art policy in the city. This is a type of document that many artist-friendly cities have across California. We did a lot of research, looked at various different cities as models, and are in the process of putting this together, starting with an introduction of, the role of arts and culture in South Pasadena. Also, a basic explanation of what public art is. As you can see, it's a multivariant thing with a broad definition. The way that public art is commissioned and deaccessioned, and general information there, and what it consists of. As you can see, sculpture, mosaics, fountains, water elements, fine arts and crafts, mixed media, video, and on and on. It's a document that also, we hope, explains the mission, vision, and goals for the city of South Bend. And this isn't done. I mean, this is for all of us. We're the ad hoc, to work on this. But it's, we have goals and objectives here, the way that we want the creation of the public art program to enhance the general welfare of the community. Some of this is steeped in the language of our ordinances that we already have. A really important aspect of this document that we kind of foresee that is similar to other documents in other cities that have the, the 1% program where developers have to, make works of art, is have kind of a clear outline of what the different departments do. And this is very helpful. I think it lays out what the city council does, the role of the Public Arts Commission, and then also the role of staff. So that's kind of defined, and, so it's just, for those that are new to the council, that seemed to be kind of ambiguous in the past, and now it's kind of clarified, is very helpful. And then also another important part of this, of course, is also the public arts program. And, there basically are two different way that arts are commissioned and happen in the city. There's the public art commissions that would come to our committee, and then there's the 1% program that's done, which is privately funded public art. So to kind of, drill down on both of those, although both the public arts, the way that the way that to go through kind of the criteria for selecting artists, criteria for selecting art, is all, we're working on the language for that we want to have, of course, the Public Arts Commission, but also to have the opportunity to invite members of the community to be part of that process as well. Here we have, am I going through this? Am I getting through it? Then of course, the public art and private developments to really that's really important that we're very clear with that. Well, all of it, we want to be as clear as we possibly can. And we're, working on this, how the fees are calculated, as you can see here. Also, we see that this document also will address issues like the way that donations are handled, accession and deaccessioning, and these, in a kind of coherent written format. So there's great clarity for our city in, commissioning works of art, and also the way that they are kind of trickled through our privately developed public art program as well. So yeah, so we're excited to be able to present a document to you all. So yeah, we're happy to listen to feedback, or get thoughts, or as we kind of take this back to our ad hoc committee.
And just as a note, obviously this is very much a beginning, right? There's different color text in this document, and the black text is for the most part taken from the ordinance itself, so it is well kind of set and established. The red and the blue are sort of text that we're working on. The blue is basically indicating areas that we're going to develop, and the red is sort of, we got some notes down on paper. So that's kind of where we are with this. But yeah, it's intended to be as comprehensive, readable, understandable. For people
Clear,
for
and
developers to use, and for the public to understand how the process works. So.
Some follow-up questions. Would you like staff to distribute the draft to the commissioners who are absent?
Absolutely.
definitely.
Okay, and then we'd like them to provide feedback. And Dolores, I know this is the first time you're looking at it, but if you would also have feedback that you should maybe share with Annalee
Yeah.
and copy me.
Yeah, we'd love
And then what section are we going to work on next? I don't know if we want to think about that a little bit.
about the selection of criteria. Where we can work on the donations.
We can integrate the proposal that was at the last meeting. Yes, absolutely. That's a good idea.
So that would be this whole section: public art, accessioning, deaccessioning, donations, loan, memorials, and murals.
You want to take that on?
That seems to be a more, that would be pressing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be really important to address that.
Okay. Anything?
Yeah, I was wondering, when we talked about this at the last meeting, that it almost seems like there are two separate parts here, the acceptance of the arts, and then the public arts. And the public arts one seems a lot larger in scale, would be my guess.
Oh, you mean just the general public arts one?
Versus accepting donation.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, that is true. The accepting donations is, I don't think we've really focused on that. This is kind of what this document, I think we've been focusing on more, to kind of get, a system in place or just to be really clear. It's just that we just in the past before your arrival, there would, there's just was no, clear like criteria for, selecting an artist, and that these are things that most cities that have, public arts programs, and certainly a requirement for public arts in private buildings really needs. We had several developers come in front of us, and it seemed that they would benefit from having, a readable document that they could, turn to and kind of understand, the process, and, you know, and how it really worked. But they don't have to go through the selection process in the same way that public art that, that we would have funding from would have to go through.
I mean, it's an all-encompassing, it's an all-encompassing, it's meant to be an all-encompassing document. So the accession and deaccessioning for the art collection of the city is part of this. It'll be a section. So we're saying that it would be a section that we could work on, because I think there are more pressing, there's a pressing need to address it and articulate it so that we can move forward with some things that are on the table. So, yeah. So, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, on your first day in the seat, we did review a policy proposal for accepting donations. And right, so part of the, uh, once an arm, a branch of the city accepts a piece of art, it becomes part of the public art collection. And over time, certain parts of the city are solicited more frequently than others. For example, the library department is often offered gifts of art, and the library board of commissioners has a level of jurisdiction over decision making around that. Their bylaws include that responsibility, but they also don't really have a clear policy on how to make those decisions. So the staff report at the last meeting discussed that in detail. For our purposes, for the most part, we're talking about art donations when a developer, for example, chooses to produce art on their property, right, in order to fulfill their obligation. That art does become part of the city's collection, but they have a long-term responsibility to maintain it, in perpetuity. Let's just say, whatever that means. And then the other situation is when a developer decides not to produce art, but to pay a fee. And in those instances, then the commission, working with the staff, creates a solicitation to create art that then becomes part of our collection. So there are a couple of different ways that pieces come in. And then it's our duty to know where they are, know how they're maintained, and let other people know the same.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. So our goal is to have a draft of this by June.
I mean, my recollection from the ad hoc committee meeting was that that was the ambition.
Okay. Okay.
Ambitious ambition,
That
but an
was-
ambition.
Okay.
We'll see how far you
Yeah.
get.
Okay.
Great. Do we, I think that concludes that section. And hopefully, we all will have a chance to go over it and provide comments and all of that, as we're working on something for June. So, okay, I guess we can move on to our next, agenda item. Comments from our commissioners. Are there any comments from, commissioners?
I don't have any comments beyond the work on this. This has been very, yes, spending a lot of time on this.
I don't have any comments at this time.
All right, thank you. Are there any comments from staff?
This is Allison Becker again from the Community Development Department. The only, in addition to the updates that were provided by the council liaison, we'll just add specific to the public art program that staff was able to send out the fee notices for our 5 eligible projects. So we've kind of taken another step towards formalizing the program, the different procedures that we're using to work with applicants. And yeah, that was a big milestone for us. And so now we'll see if I get angry calls. I don't know, but that's all for me.
Perfect, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. I think with that, then, I think we may adjourn. So, do I have to? Yeah, I think the next scheduled meeting we have for our commission is June 28th at 6:30 PM. Okay. So, and with that, do I ask for a vote for adjourning, or can I just adjourn the meeting? All right, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at, what time is it?
7:13.
7:13.
Wow.
7:14.
Okay, good.
All right, can I do this? I'm gonna do this.
Woo.
All the- Right.